Words matter. Actions often follow those words. So instead of saying, well, I'm going to try to go to the gym today, I don't believe in that. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. You can tell me 6 ways to Sunday that you're going to try this or try that. But what you've done is you've left a trapdoor for yourself.
Mike, how's it going, sir?
I'm good, buddy. You?
I'm very good. Nice to see you again, man. Nice to see you. How's
You
things?
too, bud? Super. I got no complaints, man.
I've been hearing you've been motoring along really well. So I'm super proud of you, man. I'm super proud. Let's go back a sec. So first of all, thanks for wanting to come on, on the show and obviously have a little bit of a chat about how things have gone. And I know a little bit about your journey and how things have been going and where you started. But anyone else who, ends up sort of watching this, listening to this is going to have no clue as to who you are, what you do, what you were struggling with that made you want to take some sort of positive action for yourself. Bring us into that world to start with a little bit.
Yeah. So, Mike, I live in New York. I'm in education. I've been in education for almost 20 years now. I oversee probably right now like a team of 30 people, teachers and administrators. And right now I'm in adult education for the last 2 years. And prior to that, I was in higher ed for like 17 years, as a dean and various administrative roles. So I was on LinkedIn one day and I was, looking around at other things. I'm on LinkedIn pretty often. And I remember seeing an ad for your thing, something that you had posted and, hadn't really thought much about it. And I don't know what ended up happening, but me, my wife, I have a wife and 2 kids, an 8-year-old son, a 5-year-old daughter. And I remember going home and it was a very crystallized moment. I remember looking at picture/video of myself that my wife had taken. We were like singing in the car or something. I remember looking at that video, Andy, and I'm like, who is that person? It was no more. It was like I didn't recognize myself. I wasn't happy with what I looked like, and it's not just for me a physical thing, a physical appearance thing. It was very much like I didn't recognize visually who that person was. I didn't feel good moving around. I didn't feel like I was the same person that I was previous to that. So yeah, it was one of those things where I remember looking at that. That was like my moment where I go, I'm doing something about this. And I was on LinkedIn like a day or something after I saw your thing, and then we connected, and here we are.
It's funny the amount of times someone say, fate's a strong word, but it's as if I was supposed to see the post at a certain time. It's like something had happened the day before. You'd seen a video of yourself and thinking, I don't know who that dude is. That's not who I think I am. And obviously that's what I look like, and something's not aligning. And then it's like the next day you see something that is going to be something that could potentially fix the problem. It's like more often than not, when people feed back, something like that's happened. It's as if things aligned. Obviously you're super busy. You've got a beautiful family. Probably over the last 20 years, you've been, getting higher up in terms of where you are, work-wise, bringing up the kiddos, getting married, all that stuff. Probably just sacrificing yourself in the background a little bit, I imagine. Your priority is at the back at that point. Is that probably right?
People in positions in kind of like helper professions, in those professions where they're really people-centric and we're really, about other people. I think that happens a lot to people in industries like that. You focus on other people and I think you become secondary, right? And like I said, I remember that moment looking at that picture, looking at that video myself going like, wait, what? That's not who I am, not what I look like, and not happy with who I was, right? How I moved, how I felt when I moved, and said I need to do something about it. And again, I think when you and me first talked, I said, for me, it was always about my kids. At the end of the day, our first conversation was always about that. Like, what do you want? What's the driver for you? And I said, my kids, my family. Like at the end of the day, I want to be around as long as I can be for them. They're the most important thing to me. So I want to be healthy. I want to enjoy that time that I'm around with them and for them. So yeah.
I was literally going to say, I'm sure when I remember we speak, and I always ask everyone, why are you doing this? Like, why is this important to you? And why is now the time to go and do it? Like I ask everybody that question. And anyone with kids, first of all, they're like, anyone with kids, like, I want to be the best role model that I can. I don't want my kids to have to go through the pain I went through, the struggle I went through, and, all that. And that would be physically, emotionally, in any area of parenthood lifing, I suppose. But particularly, it's easy to get out of shape. I mean, let's be honest, like certainly in the States, the reality is 42% of American adults are obese. Like that's a really bad statistic. It's reality, which means it must be really easy to get out of shape. And then what it also means is what most people think is in good shape is still quite a long way out of shape, like respectfully. And so then the goal would be is at the moment you've got kids, it's like, right, if someone's sitting in their situation thinking, well, I'm not saying this is yours, but you could imagine this, they've seen their parents out of shape, maybe struggling with older age, so on and so forth. And then they're thinking, well, I'm in the middle and it's beginning to happen to me. Right. Well, if I don't do anything about it, it's going to happen to my kids because the behavior breeds behavior. And so just like you've done, a lot of the parents we speak to are like, it's not like they've thought about it in that way, but that's what's happening. They're like, I don't want my kids to have to go through this stuff. I want to be the right role model because they're watching everything that we do. Like they see everything. Like, you know, it's like the teacher that used to stand at the blackboard. I see that, Mike. You're like, what the hell? Like, how do they do that? It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like kids see everything. And so,
you're right.
And it's great to have a goal that's bigger than oneself. And again, that's common with what a lot of people say to us is, oh, you know, I don't want massive arms and I'm not bothered about vanity and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, self-esteem is important because kids pick up on that too, right? You know, if parents are not confident, children grow up thinking that's normal. And we would all want our kids to go into life not overconfident, but there, like putting themselves forward, putting their hand up to answer the question, like being at the front of the queue and stuff like that. So tell me, okay, so we know where you were, you know, sort of before you joined. And I think back to that and the couple of conversations that we've had. How were the initial steps into the program? So we would have brought you in, you did your consultation form. We introduced you to your coach, which I think was Shana. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure. So
Correct.
You've had head coach Shana, head mistress, as we like to call her. She'll hate me when she hears this. She'll come and find me now. So tell me, what were maybe some of the initial aha like moments when she delivered plans, talked you through them? Anything stands out from right back at the beginning that was maybe not what you expected, or give us a bit of a feel about that?
I think you and me talked about this initially, and one of the things you want to know is really, how'd you get to where you're at? And I think that's important because when you talk about someone's journey, there's always things that happen along the way, right? Whether it's a trauma or a loss or something like that, or whether it's just like you said, over time, things just change, whatever. For me, it's one of those things that my family is pretty, I have pretty good genetics, not terrible. Most folks in my family are reasonably healthy. So like, kind of like you said, that obesity thing's not really a huge thing, I would say, in my family. But again, every no family's perfect. Everyone's got stuff. Looking at that, I think that was the biggest thing. I remember from the very beginning, well, what do you want it to be? I know my challenge was always work. And then I wouldn't eat right. And I never, to be honest, never had structure in my life when it came to eating, right? It was like you eat when you're hungry, right? You eat when you're hungry. You kind of, you want something. Okay, no problem, whatever. And again, usually being active enough, you don't think about it, right? You're like, yeah, it'll be fine. Burn it off or whatever. And then you start to get older, right? I'm, early 40s now. And yeah, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen without work. So yeah, I think the reality of it is I wanted to make that change, right? Sometimes, like you said, things are just kind of synchronistic. They just hit at certain points. And that was it. I remember at the very beginning, we talked about the plan. Shanna's awesome. She's a character. We have really good, back and forth in terms of dialogue between us. But, she's super supportive. I think she would probably say as well that I'm probably not one of those clients that she's got to be chasing after to be like, get after it, get your stuff done, whatever. I tell me what I need to do. I'll take care of my business. Again, give me some support and guidance. I'll ask questions when I need it. But yeah, she's great in that regard. I think for me, it was always the nutrition part was work, come home, binge eat. And I think that was the problem. Like I wouldn't eat anything all day, I'd be starving. Yeah, then I'd eat whatever I wanted. Yeah. Whether it was bad food, whether it was snack food, whatever, and then get home and and then not do anything about it, then sleep, have digestive issues, all that stuff. So that's kind of what got me to it. And then the start of the plan was the nutrition. I was like, I need help. I don't know how to do it. And that's where you guys were great. You helped me with the plan. and put that in place. That was the biggest step. So, in all of it, I think was nutrition.
It's the easiest thing to, I mean, what you've just mentioned there is I'm exactly the same. If I was to go through a day and I've, let's say I've been, back to back on these and something, and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, it's 5 in the afternoon or 5 in the evening, I'm starving. You put anything in front of me at that point, I'll eat it because I'm starving. Like, I think all humans are the same at that point. If you're that hungry, emotionally drained, tired, stressed, whatever it might be, whatever it is, you're just going to consume it. And if it's the wrong thing, like if it's something sweet, and it's hyper palatable, and then it's just followed by more and more and more, and then that cycle's gone round again, and then it's like I feel bad about myself, I've failed again, and da 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 da. And that people are in that cycle all the time, and it's our role, particularly with that, is to try and get in and break it, like break that cycle somehow. So, what is it about the food plan? Do you think? What's helped specifically? Is it like the type of food you were given? Is it the freedom? Is it the pre-planning? Like what's been able to break that cycle for you?
No, I hate the pre-planning, to be honest. It's a pain in the butt, and again, if anyone who's listening, that's the truth. Like it's like anything, right? In this world, you got to take ownership of the things you can control and the things you can't control, right? Stop worrying about the things you can't control, focus on the things you can control. And that's one of those things. I've never been that way, so I never had that structure. I never had it built in where it's like, oh, this is what it looks like to pre-plan meals, etc. I give a lot of that credit, honestly, to my wife because she's really great at that. She, just like you and me talk about, right? She exercised, was always good. She's been a good support system for me as I've gone on this health journey. Yeah, that part has been the biggest thing. It's managing. It's really getting. I'm like, I don't know what a structured plan looks like. Tell me, give me something. Let me see what it looks like. Since Shannon's done that, it really like, oh, okay, that's what it could be. Then as I started understanding, I was very strict to the plan in the beginning, just so I could, like you said, break those habits and get into a routine. Then I started learning, okay, I can swap this in for this and look at nutrition labels and really just, again, being more conscious of all those things helps. And to be honest, I'm the kind of person when I learn something and I'm seeing it successful, I want to share that information and I want to help other people to be better and healthier, whatever it may be. So yeah, that's it, man. The structure. And obviously I think the food choices are big. Finding food choices that you like, not putting things in there where you're like, oh, well, this has a lot. Looking at your macros and, well, this has got a ton of protein, but you hate it. Like, that's a terrible idea. Yep. Don't do that. Yep. Do something where you're going to enjoy eating it, that is healthy, that meets what you're trying to do in those meals. That was hard at first, to be honest, man. That was hard, like, breaking those meals up, like 4 of them a day, really 4 to 5, depending on, if it's a workout day. I'm like, I can't eat this much food. Like, there's too much food for me to eat. But, I know you've said it before and, it's eating good food and it's eating healthy food and doing it in a way where your body can process it, digest it, and then your body gets used to that.
Not for everybody, but it's a very common theme that one of our coaches will write a plan and someone's like, okay, I like those foods, I can eat that. And then a couple of days they're like, oh God, this is so much food. This is more food than I'm used to eating. I came here to lose fat, right? And we're like, yeah, no, we know that. Like, well, I'm eating more food. And we're like, yeah, that's like the kind of point, right? If we could have someone within reason eat more food than they're eating now, but in a caloric deficit and get them losing weight, then someone feels satiated. They're eating foods that they like. They're not feeling like they're in a food prison. They don't have that fear of missing out. Now we've put someone on a plan that is right for them and a sustainable long-term result. This is where someone will come to us and like, what's your, some people say to me, what's your system? What's your system? Is it keto? Is it carnivore? I'm like, I can't answer that question. Our system is whatever the right thing that you can stick to for the rest of your life. I can't explain it any better than that. It's like the best diet to be on is the one that you don't think you're on. Like, there you go. That's like cuts through it all, doesn't it? If you don't think you're on a diet, the moment I say to you, you're on a restrictive diet and it's like, oh, that scares people off. And you said about swapping foods in and out. And I think this is a super important thing that once you've seen the plan, you've executed it, you've nailed it. And it's like, okay, well, I don't have to have chicken in some meal. This could be white fish. It could be prawns. It could be egg whites. It could be very lean beef. So suddenly a single page plan could become 20 versions of that. And I guess now what you've learned to do is look at your day and be like, I just don't fancy this particular food today, but I know exactly what I've got that would replace it. That's the same macros, same amount. Mm-hmm. I'll still hit my numbers. But basically you then get to a point, and this is maybe where you are, where you can now basically eat what you like as long as it fits in that structure and continue to make progress. Is that where you are right now?
Alphas, I interrupt this show with a simple message. This show is here to benefit you and your progression to the best version of yourself. But not only just you, it's also here to benefit the people around you, your loved ones, your friends, other alphas in your vicinity. So why not do a really cool thing today? Something that I would thank you for, and maybe someone else would. Share this podcast with at least one other alpha out there who you know would benefit from it. Why not share the information, share the ability for someone else to grow? I'm sure they would thank you. I 100% would absolutely thank you. This podcast only grows by our listeners, our followers doing amazing things like giving us 5-star reviews, downloading podcasts, subscribing, and then of course sharing it with other people. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Share it with one person, and of course drop us a 5-star review, download the podcast, and of course subscribe. And now back to the show.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it. I think go back to what you first said, diet, the first word. I think that's probably where so many people have a challenge, is the word diet, right? Like as soon as you say that word, the connotation is negative. Like, oh, well, you're unhealthy because you're on a diet, you're this, versus like you said, really being healthy. Like I said, I told people when I started, it's a health journey. It's not a diet. It's changing a mindset, right? It's really going, things that I didn't know how to do, I need to develop those skills. It's like anything, right? We're all not good at everything. So I needed help from you guys, an expert, to help me in an area where I know I'm not strong and I have no knowledge. I have no basis to go, well, oh, if you do this, this, and this is how you solve it. You guys helped with that. And that was, I think, huge for me, because you laid out it's like building a house, right? You put the foundation, you dig out the hole, you build the foundation first, then you can start framing the walls. You start doing all of those things. If you do it right from the first step, then all those other things, everything else will fall into place the way it's supposed to. So yeah, I think the diet part is really, for me, it's the nutritional part, right? Knowing what that nutrition looks like, how much I can eat, knowing, like you said, right? Instead of, I don't really feel like grilled chicken again today, which is funny. I've never been someone who's like super, eat the same thing. This is what it is. There's certain foods that I definitely liked, but what I found myself doing is I definitely always like default to the plan, because I know, I can do grilled chicken. It's easy. It's quick, which, like I said, it's not, I don't love, doing all the meal prep, but it is such a critical part of that. And what I realize is, in cooking in larger batches, and that makes it a lot easier. So it makes it more manageable, because I'm like, oh, I got the chicken in there, I'm good. And then I kind of, like I said, default to those things that I know and I'm comfortable with now, and that I know are going to help me hit the macros and keep my progress going. And I know I feel better.
And so then obviously you've nailed nutrition. Talk to me about training. One thing we hear a lot of people, and this is understandable, one thing a lot of particularly guys will say is, I don't know what the hell I'm doing with nutrition, but I've been going to a gym for 20 years and I know what I'm doing there. And I will always sit there and think, okay, but I bet if I come and train next to you, I'd change everything that someone's doing. Now, I say that respectfully, because I don't see what people are doing, but it's very different. Someone going to a gym, ticking a box, just going in there, ticking a box, and compared to where we are going to try and get someone to in terms of execution and understanding it. Talk to us a little bit about progression in training, and maybe things we've taught you there that you didn't know, or things that we were doing that have already aligned with you. Give us a bit of sort of insight into that.
Well, it started out, you very coyly, very cheekily, I showed you, hey, here's my wife's stuff at home, right? I got my wife's treadmill and her dumbbells, and she's got a couple kettlebells or whatever, and like, all right, cool, I can work with that, which is good. I'm sure I could have made really good progress had I done that as well. And that's how I started. And Shannon was great. She's like, okay, this is good. We're going to do this, this, and that. And then me being like, the kind of crazy person that I am, I'm like, okay, this isn't going to work for me anymore. This isn't enjoyable for me anymore. I'm not having fun doing this. Like, I need more variety, need more activity. And so, Shannon was like, well, have you thought about maybe going to the gym, this, that? I'm like, I don't want a membership and this, and I got to deal with that. And then I'm like, if I really want to continue on this path, right, and you really want to see results that I know that I'm capable of achieving, I'm a big believer in I say this all the time, right? Words matter. actions often follow those words. So instead of saying, well, I'm going to try to go to the gym today, or I'm going to try to do that, I don't believe in that. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. You can tell me 6 ways to Sunday that you're going to try this or try that. But what you've done is you've left a trapdoor for yourself. You've left a way out of something where you can find an excuse where if something doesn't work, oh man, I had a hard day, so now I'm going to go binge McDonald's and blah, 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 blah. Like, they're excuses. That's what it is at the end of the day. So the training part for me was like, do I really want to do it? Whatever. And it's like, I got to hold myself accountable to that. If I want to see the best results, the other stuff is great and the cardio is great. And that's great for, someone who just wants to do that, because every person's on their own journey. For me personally, it was about, I want to see the best results. I want to be healthy. I want to put on muscle mass and feel good about, I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder, but I want to feel good about, the muscle mass I can put on and lean down and feel better about the way I move and activity level and all that. And so that was it. We were having a conversation. I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I go and I join the gym and and I think probably advantageously, I hadn't been working out at the gym for 20 years, like some of the other folks. So like, I think that helps, because then I'm not in bad habits, in bad routines of like, okay, this is the way I've always done this. This isn't the routine I've always done. You could kind of share, gave me a structured plan. I was able to kind of say, okay, I like this, I don't like this, or like my shoulder hurts this week, I need to change this. And she was great about, again, swapping an exercise in or out if need be. So yeah.
We train a lot of people at home, and a lot of success can be gotten from home-based gyms, because that's a big variance from having nothing all the way to some people have got their whole garage full of stuff, But most people are going to make more progress in the gym because there's just more equipment, more stuff that either does work, doesn't work. It's also the mindset. I know when I travel to the gym, I'm switching my game head on. Like it's really hard. So during COVID, my gym was in my back garden. So I opened my kitchen door, walked out to my back garden, and I'm like, I've got to psych myself up somehow. Whereas the travel to the gym is, to me, is part of the process. I'm like trying to forget all the stuff that's happened in the day, and I'm now on route to do this one thing and this one thing only. Eventually, we don't really mind where someone trains. We can tell when someone gets to a point where we're like, if you want to keep making progress like this, we're gonna need to get you into a gym in some way, because you're going to make more progress. But also, we won't force someone. If someone's like, I'm not really into gyms, I don't really want to do it, we're like, that's fine. We don't have a prerogative either way. And then, so the final big area, and I suppose we've kind of touched on it a bit, which is like the actual accountability, the weekly check-ins, having Shana there, probably, breathing down your neck, making sure you're doing things correctly. You can go and get a nutrition plan, you can go and get a training plan, but the accountability that kind of crystallizes the whole thing together, that's coaching. That's what we believe coaching to be. So what's the accountability side been like for you so far?
Yeah, so there's 2 parts to it. One is, I think it always is, obviously comes down to the individual, right? Like, how committed and focused are you? And I think, the best coaches know the right buttons to push, right? Know the right levers to push. And as they get to know a person, in order to be able to, how do I help this person become the best version of themselves and drive them and push them? And maybe that some people need the kick in the butt, right? Some people need the pat on the back. Some people need the challenge of, I don't know, I'm not sure if you can do this, whatever it is. What is that thing that's going to move the person to get them to be the best version of themselves? And I think Shannon probably learned pretty quickly with me that, like, she didn't have to worry a ton about, like, am I going crazy off the rails with the nutrition and all of that? Probably pushing me in some other ways. I think for me, to be honest, Andy, for me personally, it was about the accountability of, like, again, same thing, like checking in weekly, filling out the form, doing all of this. That's what it was about. Like, taking progress pictures. There's kind of, again, there's like that, being perfectly frank, there's like that annoyance of, man, I got to do this again. Oh, I got to do this. What it reminds me of is, like you said, right, is there's an accountability there that I have to be accountable. I think first it's about accountable to your coach, but the more important lesson is not about your coach. It's about you. It's being accountable to yourself and saying, like, I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm going to reach this goal. And I think one thing I want to see, I'm almost at the end of 6 months here. I want to really see progress pics from when I started to where I'm at now, because, I'm almost 40 pounds down from when I started. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing from an accountability standpoint.
Amazing. And we tend to, not put those two pictures together, and we try and leave it as long as possible, because of course we're trying to get someone to not trying, but we want to like forget those pictures. Let's just focus on the doing. Right. And then eventually we're like, have you seen how far you've come? Like sometimes people are like, oh, I don't, really, things aren't really happening. Oh, da, 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 da. And as a coach, we'll be like, okay, let's go check pictures, and we're like, have you had a look at this? And people are like, oh my God, I didn't realize all that had happened. And we're like, no, well, we hadn't looked either, but we can tell by the metrics it's happening. So you're nearly at the end of it. So what's next for you? So obviously you're 40 odd pounds down. It sounds pretty life changing, which for us is exactly what we want. Yeah. What's next on the agenda for you then?
Yeah. So you nailed it. For me, it really was, I'm so thankful for you, and Shanna. She's, you guys really, for me, it was a mindset shift, and you helped me to, what I needed when I needed it to shift my mindset into your health, your wellness, and all of those things. So all the things I wanted, I think are crystallizing. I think I'd set a goal. I wanted to be at 185 at the end of the program. I started at 228. I've gotten as low as 190. I think this morning I weighed myself as 192. So yeah, I'm almost there. 188 was kind of that first initial goal. That would be 40 pounds down. And then I don't even know why I set 185. It's just like that felt like a good weight for me in my body. So yeah, that's where I want to get to. That's my next is continuing on that path, continue to build muscle mass. But again, more than just that, just feeling good, being healthy, being more present. I think the structure of what your program has helped me with, it flows into other areas of my life. Being someone who's very good at being flexible and going with the flow, not someone who lives in kind of a very black and white world of like, it's either this or this. I live in a gray area. There's lots of times where I have to make decisions. Sometimes it's policy related. It's got to be this or it's got to be this. Other times it's very much like there's nuances to it where you have to figure out. So I've always kind of lived in that world and I'm comfortable in that world. But having the structure, I think, has helped me in other areas of my life, professionally, even at home with the kids. So yeah, I think that part has been pretty awesome.
Honestly, it makes my day. I can still remember sitting here speaking, because I remember having 4 calls back to back, and you were somewhere in one of those 4. All 4 people said yes, 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 and I finished it. I was like, man, that was crazy. And I think it was it was a while back now, and what's lovely for me to hear is, for us, it's having the chance to have a positive impact into another human's life. That's it. Like that's still so when I get to sit here and hear this, I'm like, oh, man, it fills my cup back up. You know what I mean? It's so good. You've crushed it for you, for your family. For the kids, you've crushed it. You've done so well. Be proud. This won't be the last time we talk. I know that. But for now and for this episode, Mike, look, thanks for taking some time out your day, man. Really appreciate it. There'll be people who will have listened to this who are going to be inspired to go and change their life too. So we appreciate you. Listen, it's been a pleasure. I'll speak to you again at some other point as well. But for today, man, go take care. I'll speak to you soon.
I appreciate you, buddy. Cheers. Talk to you later.